Hello and welcome to the Poultry Health Research Network here at the University of Guelph. I'm Ryan Snyder, the coordinator, and I'll be your host today. Today you're going to see an interview from one of our graduate students who's working on poultry research right here at the university. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to the Poultry Health Research Network. Today we're interviewing Sugandha Raj. Sugandha, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah. So how did you find your way to be involved with poultry health and research?
To that question, I would say that I have done my degree as a veterinarian from India, and I have done my master's as well in microbiology and immunology. So back in India, I was working with cattle, and I was trying to develop a vaccine to help the cattle to get over this zoonotic potential pathogen. So from that, I got this interest, and it was my passion to create some novel vaccines that would be cost effective and efficacious against the zoonotic pathogens, because they are harmful to the animals but as well as to the humans. So that gave me a spark in my life to get into this vaccine development area, and from there I tried to be more flexible into this poultry thing. I worked with cattle, but I really wanted to do something apart from it, working with cattle and then working with poultry, so it gave me a larger exposure. And yeah, that's how I switched my interest from this field to this. And I have a research area in microbiology and immunology, so that was the side from which I really wanted to dig into and get into poultry.
Wow, so there's a lot there. So you come from India, you've got some cattle background, you've got some microbiology background,
Yes,
and then some chicken background. That's really cool. And so did you get the chance to understand the chicken industry in India before you came here?
Oh yes, I have been working with social welfare communities. I have been a social worker with women empowerment in India. So I have been visiting many villages, and I've seen women coming forward with farming and then with backyard poultry farming. So from there, I really got this idea that yes, poultry is affecting the country's economy a lot, and it's helping the people, the social people at base level, to how they're gonna help with their livelihood as well. You know, it has to be practical. I know money is important, but how they are making a living out of it is very important, and how I can help getting something out of my research to help those people at that base level would be really a good idea. So, and the second thing to add this was I really wanted to link my interest in this, my social interest, with my research. So I wanted to create a platform linking my poultry and cattle and social work area. It's like being multidisciplinary, and I think it's very important to be multidisciplinary in this.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about how you're doing that all. What program are you in? What department and lab are you working in now?
So after finishing my master's in microbiology and immunology and working with brucellosis back in India, I came here for my PhD, my doctoral degree, and I'm in Dr. Sharif's lab, and I'm working on avian influenza virus and working out ways to control its transmission right now. So this is in a small gist right now. And after joining my PhD program here, I had to get my funding, and which is very important. Yes, as a student. So yeah, so I switched to Dr. Sharif's lab, and I'm right now doing PhD under him.
Okay, and how far along in your program are you?
So right now I'm just entering in my 4th semester, and right now I have done some pilot studies with avian influenza virus, which is typically the strain is H9N2 we are working upon, and there have been many students which have worked upon in this strain, and I'm specifically aiming to understand the dynamics of the transmission of avian influenza virus, and then find out different ways how I can disrupt this transmission, so I can get a better, I would say, to create a decision support system.
Okay.
To get a better control, to build up innovative and novel strategies to inhibit its transmission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So yeah, avian influenza is a pretty important pathogen that we need to control for. Not just here in Canada, North America, it's a global issue, right?
It's a major threat, It's a major threat to the poultry industry in Canada, States, Asian countries, and it's created a pandemic in China as well.
That's right.
Hong Kong, back in Iran, and it leads to like huge economic losses, impacting the trade all over the places, and
Yeah. And so can you give us a quick other background on how it's controlled for, or how it's prevented, or how we mitigate the avian influenza?
Okay, so this is regarding a proposed work which I'm looking at right now. So I'm trying to mimic a natural transmission model that happens with this virus in the poultry at a larger scale. So I mimic that in a smaller area, and I see how the virus is being transmitted between poultry through different routes. So once I get to know those different relative routes of transmission, I then find out I try to understand and then predict and then find out the control measures of working on it. So once I get to that different relative routes, and which route is contributing more to its transmission, I pick that route, and then I use different strategies. So those strategies right now which I'm including is some immunostimulatory molecules which have the potency to enhance immunity among those poultry birds. So they may act as a prophylactic as well as a therapeutic ways to disrupt the transmission. And the second aspect is the cost effectiveness and the efficacy of these immunostimulatory molecules. So they can be used as sole molecules, or they can be used as vaccine adjuvants to enhance immunity in those birds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very complex.
I know it is, but it's really interesting, because this virus has an amazing but scary ability to form a new strain. So if it's a strain A, after few infections or transmission, it would become strain B, and you don't know. Okay. So the vaccine has to be such that it can protect from the virus A as well as to the virus B. So we have to predict. So this is very interesting, which really made me interested in this project, such that since this virus has the ability to resort, we have to be very careful and caution before that. Since it's going to be reassort, we have to develop a vaccine that could attack on that predicted strain.
Right.
That's how we can control the economic losses. If you're just targeting on the present strain, true, that's wise, but you have to be smarter to tackle the strain you predict.
Yes,
right?
These viruses have quite a few mechanisms that they're using to get around us, and they jump around. And so you said this was H9N2. And so do you think it will help, this work will help against other H1 or other groups at all, or is it just the H9N2s?
Well, since it is a low pathogenic virus, there have been researchers that have been saying that this virus has the ability to reassort into other strains, okay, but it has given some of its segments before in formation of new strains. But up till now, it's just been in poultry, and till now it has affected, we have seen some human cases in Hong Kong, but not in Canada or this area, right, the west part of the world right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, but it still has this zoonotic potential. So yes, it is few steps away to affect the humans.
Absolutely.
So it is a red alert sign for us to just work on it and understand how the dynamic of this H9N2 is going.
Very good. And so this, what groups of poultry are you working with? Broilers, layers, turkeys, all the above?
Yes, mainly the broilers and the layers. I usually use the layer birds, but there have been studies in our lab which have been focusing on layers, broilers as well. And I use chicks, like 1 day old, like their baby chicks, to see if we are vaccinating at a very young age. And then we also have experiments to determine what is the best age to vaccinate them. So we vaccinate, and then you do another supplementing vaccination and a booster vaccination, that's what we call it. So yeah, what is the best age? There have been experiments done in the lab as well for that.
Okay, and so what would be the timeline for some of these trials? Would they take several weeks, or?
Right now, since I have joined August 2018, so it's just been 4 months for me, and right now I have just begun my work into the poultry sector. So I have just begun from the basic, what is the best, infection is different from transmission. Infection is you're getting infected, but whether that infected individual is able to transmit that infection to another person is transmission. So right now the first pilot study which I did was to see if I could infect them with a particular dose and what is the best dose and the best route I could infect them with. And then my second pilot study, which I'm just doing it, the results are awaited, I'm sorry about that. So to see whether they are able to transmit it. So with that similar dose, my results from the first study, I'm continuing my second pilot study to see whether I'm able to establish the transmission model. So I infected them with some particular route, and then I am swabbing these birds to see if they are transmitting through an oral transmission, or they are transmitting through the respiratory route, or they are transmitting the virus through the fecal route. So yeah.
And then all these pilot studies, you'll compare them. These pilot studies will go forward towards a main study or a main series of studies?
Yes. Once I am seeing that I'm able to establish this transmission models, then I will lead my dig in more and go to my proposed thesis work.
Okay, and so your proposed thesis work is looking at transmission within a flock. Are you going to be able to look between flocks at all?
Between flocks and with both.
Okay, very cool.
And I'm looking on both the direct transmission and indirect transmission, and the various routes which I'm targeting is the respiratory route model, and by using fomites. So fomites are some inanimate objects around a bird which might be a plausible cause of transmission, like you can say some feed or the bedding material or anything around the bird, like if it has the virus on it and it pecks on it and gets infected. So we call it a fomite.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we see whether a close contact or what is the distance through which the virus can be transmitted. So yeah, we have been doing all this.
Do other people do work with the virus as well, but not in this particular realm? Or they look at genomics?
Yeah, there have been a lot of work going on with this H9N2. Previously, there have been students, Neda and Paul and Jake, he just did his master's, so they have been looking at they have been looking usually upon the transmission routes, but they're also looking upon the co-stimulatory molecules that would help in enhancing the immunity of the bird so that they could just not get infected. Yes, and also there have been some genomic studies, gene sequencing studies, which are going in, and also the effect of H9N2 on the gut microbiota.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys do a lot of work with poultry and viruses. Very cool. Who are some of the major contributors or funders or sponsors of your project?
That's a very good question. I would say thank you for that. For my PhD in Canada, I really needed some funding for my research. So Dr. Sharif advised me to apply for the Arrow Food Institute, which is one of the very prestigious scholarship here. So I applied for the same, and thanks to Arrow Food Institute that they have been helping the students so nicely. So they have two scholarships, that the Arrow Food Institute, which is the bigger one, and they have Food from Thought. Both of them have exquisite ideas, and they help building a student not academically, but also they help to improve in multidisciplinary approaches. So I have been working with them from 8 months before, and we have been giving projects to work with some other industries apart from University of Guelph, so that we can build links and how we approach or target any problem or any situation in the food industry or the beverage industry. Yeah, we've been working with SEED, we have been working with Provision Coalition, and Maple Leaf, etc. Yeah, it was a wonderful project we work under, and they help to build global food systems around the world, which I think is a very, very nice thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can't think of a better project that utilizes collaboration and communication between all these different organizations to better the world, better animal health.
It's very important to be good at academics, but it's also very important how you present yourself. You build up your personality as a student, because you're going to be colleagues one day, so it helps you to get if you think about in future, you have to get absorbed into a job, and how you build your character, how you present yourself, your communication skills, your marketing, statistics. I was really bad at statistics, but I gradually learned from Arrows. So I'm really happy with
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What has been the most exciting part of this project for you so far?
The topic itself was very interesting to me because it was completely new. And it was a challenge for me to jump into the poultry sector because I had been working with cattle, as I mentioned before, and jumping into another scenario is a challenge. You have to learn a lot of things. Like both the species have completely different mechanisms. So learning that was a challenge for me, number one. Secondly, when you come across this virus and its scary abilities to reassort and predict the future strains and the pandemic it can cause and how you can tackle that. There have been like various like Nobel scientists which have been working on it and how you can control the spread of this virus. It's very, very interesting because you have to be cautious beforehand and you don't know which strain it's gonna rearrange itself into. So that was really interesting for me. Like, wow, it's rearranging. How are they doing that?
Yep. And when they do cause problems, it's hundreds of millions of dollars and millions of birds that are.
Huge economic losses.
Yep.
Yes.
So
it affects both the egg production and the meat production, which really impacts the trade across different nations.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why affecting the economy of this country.
Yes, and it's also that zoonotic risk that we want to remove as
yes,
well.
It's like just a few steps away from turning into a human strain.
Yeah. And I guess we've already kind of touched on this, but we'll ask it again anyways. So what does this project mean for the poultry industry and the academic community, both locally and globally?
I would say that it has a lot of relevance in affecting the food chain across the world, because it definitely affects since it has the impact as a foodborne pathogen as well, so it definitely affects the meat quality and the egg production, thereby affecting the industries. So I think if we are able to control this virus transmission, we would be able to elevate Canada's place in the world's food economy at a global level. And it will also elevate, like I would say, brush up University of Guelph's, food and veterinary research up to a very high level, and it would definitely help to put it into a higher scale. Like it has been doing wonderful things.
And this just takes it to the next level.
It would definitely elevate its research potentials to a lot of things, to a broader area, and opening the horizons of knowledge.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that is pretty high level. So what's next for you after the program? What careers are you looking for?
I really want to, so there are two things I want to look at. I want to be in academia for sure, but I really want to link my academic skills with poultry industry. So developing those links as a liaison is what I look for and what I aim for. And with my research skills and my learnings, I want to place that into more practical issues. So how I use my vaccines, how I develop them, and how it can affect the market. It's very important. If you're not able to use those skills into practicality, I think it's not a good idea. You have to push it out to the world, and it should be for the larger good. So I want to be a liaison between my academic career and the marketing industry in Canada.
That's great. Yeah, I know the industry will be lucky to have you helping us out with.
I'm sure that's too much to say to right now.
No, absolutely. We're going to need your help with this issue going forward. So, is there anything else that you'd like to say to poultry producers, the industry, or the academic community?
I would just say that even influenza, it's been impacting the economy and the trade potential of the country, and it's high time that we dig deep into it and find out ways how we can inhibit its transmission and help the people around on like big poultry farms, the local farmers which are working at the grass level. If we elevate them, we're definitely going to affect the country's economy for a better good.
Absolutely. Very cool.
And I really want to thank my funding people, the Arrow food community. They have been really helpful for all the students who are coming this far and making students so wide with their research careers as well as their multidisciplinary approach, right? It's very important to be one. I would really emphasize on that. And yes, nothing but the least. I would really thank my advisor, Dr. Shayan Sharif, because he's been a wonderful, wonderful person in guiding always, and he always like hits in the brain, okay, you have to do critical thinking. So yeah, he helps me to think wise, and he just not wants to focus on that portion of it. This is your research. He really wants to impact it on a global level. What is going to be a larger picture? That's
right.
That's always what he says. Don't look into right now what's happening, but look into a larger picture. So yes, that's important. Whatever you're doing, think of it at a higher level. What impact it's going to have at that. So yes.
That's a good way to think about it.
I think so, yes.
Okay, this has been another interview for the Poultry Health Research Network student interviews. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you so much,
Sugandha.
Franz. Oops, thank you.